Welcome back to Epic Movie Recaps. Today, I will show you an action sci-fi film from 2020 titled Attraction to Invasion. The movie begins where you could see a massive metallic spaceship out in space close to Earth, like it's observing the planet. A small spacecraft then emerged from the massive spaceship, dashing through the galaxy. It burst through a layer of atmosphere surrounding Earth and at light speed flew past a satellite that gives off a light signal. As the small spacecraft pass on a direct course to Earth, the scene then shifts to a group of fishermen on a boat, working hard, doing what they do best, except for one fisherman who was just standing there looking out in the ocean with a fearful and worried look. The other fishermen tease him on his fear of sharks, while one man bounces him on his shoulder while mocking him. It seems like a usual playing antics between the seamates. The worried fisherman went back to looking out in the waters. Then suddenly, a splash. Something fell in the water. It was so fast, the worried fisherman didn't even get the chance to see what it was. He just stood there trying to make sense of what just happened. 4 months later, Yulia is seen jogging with her dog. As they come into an apartment complex, the dog escapes and doesn't come back for her calls. She tells the men that are with her to help find him. Later, as she's sitting in robotics class, her friend asks her about some new information from the lab. She tells him that if she shares any information, her guards will have to shoot him on the spot. After the class, Yulia's friend tries to express his love for her. Her guards escort them to her father's car. Her father, General Lebedev, talks to Yulia's friend, calling him Google. The kid brags that he works at Rostelecom, and they drop him off there. He enters the building, and when security asks for his ID, it shows that he's just an intern. Meanwhile, Yulia and her dad are still driving, and he jokes with her about breaking her out and smuggling her to another country where she could lay low. She doesn't want him to get suspended. They arrive in a research laboratory of the Russian Ministry of Defense, where a robot is seen tearing through the doors and smashing a car. Yulia's dad talks to a scientist at the lab, asking about it. The scientist explains that it's some kind of biotechnology. The robot is being controlled by a human, talking with them over comm. The general comments that it's a Russian extraterrestrial co-production. The scientist then explains that Yulia is the key to understanding how all of it works. Meanwhile, somewhere in the facility, Yulia is taking part in an experiment. The main scientist interrogates her about her encounter with the extraterrestrial spacecraft and monitors her reactions, not just her answers. When he asks her about her friend that died in the encounter, her heart rate spikes. And then again, when he asks why she helped the alien, they ask her about her boyfriend Artyom, and she gets upset, not wanting to answer. Suddenly, the boyfriend is brought into the lab. He starts talking to her, and she'll get incredibly upset, telling the scientist to stop the experiment and get her out. He apologizes for killing her, as she tries to reap through her restraints. As he keeps talking, the scientist encourages him, and suddenly there's a giant surge of power. Her father runs into the lab and gets her out of the pool, while Artyom is being escorted, asking why he's locked up when she is free. Later, Yulia and her father talk, and she begs him to let her be alone for a moment, without her guards or anyone else around her. He agrees and leaves, then meets with a soldier, Ivan, telling him that he'll have to pull a night shift and to change in some regular clothes. That night, Yulia is drinking at a bar. She spots Ivan and buys him a drink to let him know she's onto him, so he joins her at the bar. She offers him a drink before they leave, but a second man appears, saying they have to go. The man introduces himself as Hakan and says Yulia needs to come with him, even though she doesn't want to. Ivan and Hakan start fighting, but Yulia hits the soldier over the head, knocking him out. Her and Hakan leave the bar and call the alien spaceship Sol. It tracks where they are and finds them a ride, leading them to a car with 2 passengers. It takes over the digitalized car and starts driving it. Sol talks to them over the comm, and Ivan catches up to them. The car manages to push Ivan away and drives off, being careful not to hurt people on the road. Ivan catches up to them again with a motorcycle and calls General Lebedev to inform him of the situation. The general tells him to follow them, but starts evacuating the laboratory of the Ministry of Defense. Under the explanation that the aliens have come back to Earth, back in the car, Hakan tells Yulia that she's in danger because they went too far with the experiments, so they have to fly away immediately. The car is speeding and almost hits a pedestrian, but instantly stops in front of him, telling the other passengers to get out. Hakan and Yulia continue riding in the car. Ivan pursues after them and shoots one of the wheels. He causes a car accident, but Sol tracks him from above and manages to save him. Ivan calls the general to tell him he lost them. Sol drives Hakan and Yulia to a remote place in the middle of the woods. She reluctantly walks in, but she's suddenly greeted by her dog that's there. Yulia tells Hakan that she thought he was dead. It seems that he was the alien she helped in the previous encounter. He says that the previous time everything went wrong. They go inside the house and they talk about how he's been living on Earth. He tells her that he has adapted to life on the planet. Someone knocks on the door, and when Yulia opens it, she sees it's Google. She's angry, even though that was what he tried to tell her before. Hakan tells her that he was supposed to leave after the first encounter, but he violated the protocol and stayed on Sol. Close to Earth, they kiss and make love, as Sol is seen changing its form. It turns into RA. The next morning, Yulia calls her dad and tells him that she's with Hakan. She tells him that she has to leave because she doesn't belong on Earth anymore and asks him not to tell. Nevertheless, the general orders his men to track her signal. Yulia walks back in the house where Hakan is waiting for her with breakfast. Meanwhile, a tactical unit has surrounded the house with Hakan and Yulia inside and is ready to storm it. General Lebedev tells them to stand down, but Ra intercepts the call and changes the general's command to shoot to kill. The unit enters the house. Hakan fights a few of the soldiers off. Then the two of them escape. His ship is activated and waiting for them at the river. Hakan jumps in, but the unit follows them and shoots Yulia as she is getting into the ship. Hakan flies away. Suddenly an order comes in to launch a missile at them, but Hakan eliminates the missile mid-air. The ship is still damaged though, and it falls through the sky and into the river. Hakan tries to reach Sol, but Ra tells him that Yulia needs to be eliminated before it can repair his ship. He declines, and Ra tells him that he needs to be eliminated too. The general and Ivan try to catch up to them, receiving different kinds of miscommunication that Ra has intercepted. They find out that space defense is after the ship, with the general confused as to who gave that order. Helicopters are seen charging toward the river, switching to combat mode and shooting at the ship. Back in the facility, Artyom tricks his guard and manages to get inside the robot, steal it, and run away in it. He gets to a bridge on the river and hears that there is a unit after the ship, ready to shoot them down. The ship glides through the water, but gets shot by two helicopters. It flies out of the water and falls through the air, with water following it. Eventually, it crashes on the ground. The helicopters are in position, getting the kill order from RA, when Artem in the robot suit jumps at one of them and rips it to shreds. On the ground, the general gets to the ship and goes to check for Yulia, but her and Hakan have already escaped. He carries her to an ambulance when they find Artyom, who sees that she's hurt and tells them he'll get a doctor for her, but Hakan tells him that all she needs is water. Artyom flags down a car and they steal it, leaving its owner behind this time. While they're driving, Hakan explains how powerful Sol is and how it can control human technology. Artyom asks what it wants, and he tells him that it only wants to eliminate Yulia. In the meantime, Yulia's father goes to the Ministry of Defense, where a special meeting has been summoned. He storms the meeting, asking why such orders were placed when they were chasing the ship. The vice premier tells him that he is out of line and gets ordered to sit down. Then he asks the space defense to explain their actions. They say the orders came from the general. A recording is played where the general's voice can be heard giving the order. The vice premier orders the news to be played in the meeting, where the devastation in Moscow from the chase is apparent.